Hi, my name's Amira. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing a breakdown of the Sigma foundation brushes. Now I don't have every single Sigma foundation brush. I have the F80, which I think is the all-time classic. I haven't focused too much on this because there's like 1,001 reviews on this brush. It is just like your basic, standard foundation brush. I have 3 newer brushes as well that we're going to be delving more deeply into. So the 3D HD Kabuki, and then the 2 newest, which I only just had landed in my hands within the last week. I've been frantically using them as much as possible so I can find the best ways to use them, so that I can really go through and show you guys what's going to be best for what. So we have the 3D HD Max Kabuki and the Curve Kabuki. So the Curve Kabuki is the F83 brush. Now I am a Sigma affiliate, so if you do need anything from Sigma, please feel free to use my code. It is AMIAMAY. It will get you 10% off and it will help me out as well. So it's a win-win really. Anyway, let's jump into it. I'm going to be showing you what to do and having a little chat over all of them, and I will also have a blog post up at the same time. So if you want some more information, if there's anything I forgot to mention in this video, please check out the blog post as well. So let's do it. F80, just so popular. It's really good for just your basic foundation application. Obviously, it has that flat top, so you can't really get into like any nooks or anything. Like I find getting up around here would be a little bit tricky with that, but just for your basic foundation, this one's really good. So for this demo, I'm going to be showing you this one with my tinted primer, so that way you can still see how it goes on. Now a lot of people like to put their foundation, primer, whatever, directly onto the brush like this. Now I particularly don't like to do that too much, especially with this brush, because I find that once you put something on the top like this, as soon as you start spreading, this is probably way too much, as soon as you start to buff and blend it in, and I'm kind of doing your patting motions, since I've applied it directly to the brush is already saturated. So this is one of the reasons why I don't particularly like the flat top brush. I find that I have to keep like on my little makeup towel that I always kind of have by to just like spot clean any brushes or whatever. I find that if I'm trying to actually buff and blend out a foundation, I'm still gonna have to go in with a sponge or another clean brush when I kind of use just the flat top one, just because once you kind of spread it around, it starts to get really like wet and I find that it doesn't spread as easily. But I like to take like another clean brush usually and really kind of like blend and mold it into my skin, probably more so because I have dry skin, so I don't like to have anything too heavy or it's gonna look really gross. So I just kind of like tapped the product just onto my skin. If I'm using this kind of brush, that's much more how I would prefer to kind of go about it, tapping it onto the skin first and then working it in. I used to love brushes like this, but when the new ones came out, I just so much prefer them, and we'll jump into them and I can tell you exactly why. So obviously they had their first release of brushes where they had the flat top and they had like a round top and a slightly angled round top and a slightly angled flat top, or just kind of the basic variations. Then they released this one. This is the 3D HD Kabuki brush. So you can see it has that point at the top. So it's got like 2 sides to the brush. You know how I said earlier that I like to go in, if I use just a foundation brush, I like to go in with the second one just to kind of like buff it all over. With this one, now that edge is kind of designed, I think, to help you get into like your nooks and crannies on the face, but I love this because I will apply with one side of my face and then I will use the other side to just kind of like buff over, blend out the excess, and it just gives a much more flawless finish going in with 2 different brushes. But since this one has that, it's like your 2-in-1. I honestly thought when I first saw it, like, oh wow, what a gimmick. Like I didn't honestly, that was my first impressions. I was like, they sent it to me and I was like, oh thanks guys. But when I actually started trying it, I was like, oh my goodness. For me, as someone who doesn't use foundation brushes a whole lot, or if I do, I still go in with the sponge. This one is like, one of the first ones that I didn't have to go in with the sponge if I didn't want to, because it does have those 2 different sides. Now, I'm going to compare it here to the newest one, the 3D HD Max Kabuki. So they are basically the same, but this one is heaps bigger. So this is the new one. It's a lot bigger. If you kind of turn, if you look at them from this side, you know, this one has a bit more angle kind of coming out. But basically, they're pretty much the same. So again, I think that I prefer the new one. So I did used to love the 3D HD, but the 3D HD Max, because I've got a pretty big face, this one is just like, I love it so much. The bristles are a little bit more soft, so if you can see how they're a bit more soft, this is yeah, really dense. So if you like a really full coverage foundation, you will love the original Sigma 3D HD Kabuki. But yeah, if you like a bit more of a light to medium coverage, or you just have a really big face like me, then you will probably prefer the Max Kabuki. So what I'm going to do to kind of show you the difference between these two is because they're quite similar, but yeah, as I said, this one will give you a bit more full coverage, this one will be a little bit more sheer and faster, unless you have a really small face, in which you're probably going to struggle to get into your nooks and crannies and all that. I just have the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Foundation stick. So I'm just going to do 2 lines on my cheeks. On each cheek, I'm just going to do one straight across the forehead, one straight across the chin, a little bit on my nose. I'll probably use the same brush for my nose because otherwise it's going to get a little bit tricky. So let's go in with the original 3D HD first. So as I said, I'm going to use one side and we're just kind of going to spread it all out. And then you have that little point that's just going to get into the sides of the nose. I kind of like to get into that inner corner a little bit. And I kind of, yeah, just really press it into the skin. Having that edge, again, you could use it to kind of like, you know, if your eyeshadow gone down too far, you can bring that edge up like that. So that is pretty much just with the one side. So to be similar to your flat top brush. For some people that would be okay. I usually just like to flip it around and grab the other side, and this is what gives me that really like airbrush finish. But now let's take the 3D HD Max Kabuki and we're going to do basically the same. Before I've even flipped this brush over, it's like blended so like I feel like it's blended a lot more easily because it's got that real flexible movement. Like I will even, you know, apply foundation with like a duo fiber powder brush. Like it just gives me that like really nice fast, like, I don't know, I like those long bristles, they just work really well on me. Because the other one, yeah, since you're getting that more full coverage, you just really have to kind of sit there and perfect. This being really soft as well means that I can actually blend out right up under my eyes. This one you kind of can, but it's a little bit hard, really. Like I find it's a bit too firm for the under eye area. This one, yeah, you can definitely go in with that and yeah, right up, get in that under eye area. Then we'll just take over that other side and just airbrush it into the skin. So that is half. I really prefer how the Max Kabuki works with this. It just looks a lot more just soft and kind of airbrushed. Like I just really prefer the finish that this one gives. It just blends it into my skin a lot better. It might be because I have a more normal to dry skin that yeah, I prefer like the softness of these bristles. If you maybe have a bit more oily skin, not so sensitive skin, you might prefer the firmer one. But yeah, I really love just the softness of this. It just I just love it. I'm going to go in with a little bit more on this brush just to kind of build up just a little bit more because, you know, we're filming today, so why not? So I've just applied a little bit of my concealer. This is the Tarte Shape Tape, and I'm going to go in with the Max Kabuki. Even though it is bigger, I'm going to start working this in straight away because we don't want it to set. Even though it is bigger, the softness just works really well with concealer. Anything too dense, I find, is just kind of, it's not going to blend your concealer in very well. And yeah, see how we've got that point there? This just works so well. So yeah, if you like multi-purpose, this brush is definitely gonna be it for you. All right, so now for cream contour, obviously you can blend it out with anything that you like, but I'm gonna be showing you this new one. This is the curved Kabuki F83. It has this kind of, you see, this little swoop design. So you apply your contour, cream contour apparently, to the tip section, and then in your cheekbone, see how like, you know, this is like the high point of your cheekbone, you put that groove there, and then like that's where your contour will be, and it will blend out perfectly. Now I have used this, I'm not doing a first impressions review, I have used this and spot cleaned my brushes a couple times. It does actually work, and it works really, really well. We just tap the edge, the high point, see? Just that high point right there. I'm just going to draw it on first, onto the cheekbone, and then tilt it up. And I find that, yeah, tilting it up and brushing it up, like a combo of all of them works really, really nicely. You can also go back in with your 3D HD Max or regular and use that straight edge just to really, really sharpen up the contour. Now on this side, I'm just going to place it and just start blending straight up, just like what you would see on the Sigma website. So by doing that, it is really, really, really sharp. It is pretty well blended, but I prefer to just kind of buff up that last little bit anyway, just with the brush, and it just looks so, I don't know, this is definitely a bit more contoured. The way I kind of prefer to do it is like this. It's like a little bit more of like a bronze contour hybrid, but they're pretty similar. It just, everything comes down to, you know, personal preference. There's no right or wrong ways. These are just my favorite ways to utilize all of the different brushes in different ways. Now again, we're just gonna sharpen up with this one. I'm gonna take a little bit more on the tip, and we're just gonna go over, I'm just tapping it into the forehead, and then we're blending it down. And because this area is shorter, it's gonna be buffing it out. So when you're kind of going down, you're gonna be getting, yeah, just a nice mix. I find that often with cream contours, I can struggle a little bit, and I find that I need to go in with my sponge afterwards just to kind of fix it all up, just that last little bit. Kind of like the same with, you know, my foundation or concealer, but I find with this brush, my cream contour is like pretty perfect. Now, I'm not very good at cream contouring my nose, but I do like that because there is that tip bit. I'm not taking any extra product because I'm not very good, but we're just gonna use that on the nosy a little bit. So that is the little demo breakdown of the brushes. I have been rambling for so long in this breakdown video, but I just really wanted to show you guys my passion for these new brushes. You know, I didn't really think you could do anything extra with foundation brushes, but it turns out you can. You can really create these kind of things that look gimmicky but work so well. They make your makeup game so much easier, and I'm all about that easy. Like, this is a lot of makeup for me. For my everyday, I go pretty easy. If you are kind of like that as well, you just want something easy for every day, quick and simple, and does pretty much everything, I would definitely say the Max Kabuki is gonna be the one for you for sure. This is like, I adore this. Like, I really, 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 really am just in love with this brush. If you could only get one brush, I would definitely say this one. Definitely this one, unless you have a teeny tiny face, in which case you probably won't like it. But yeah, I'm going to stop now. Remember, if you order anything from Sigma, please feel free to use my code AMIAMAY. That will get you 10% off, as I said before, and help me out as well. You don't have to. This video is not sponsored. I am not being paid to say any of this about them. But as you can tell, I'm just so excited about them because they're just so game changing. And yes, that is that. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any of my new videos, and we will see you next time. Bye guys.